kick it off. Everybody, welcome to this breakout session on putting Sims into action. My name is Victor Hayes. I work as an ecosystem director for Health Valley Netherlands, which is a healthcare innovation network in the eastern part of the country. And I've been working with strategy tools since 2019, doing various coaching work, various master training work, and have been co-authoring with Christian on the cluster business model report, which is one, well, maybe one of the other pillars that the community is leaning towards. We not only have the reporting, but the Sims, the simulation that we're talking about, but reporting and publishing and publications is really one other major thing that we're working on from within the community. So if you get a chance on doing a report on some issues that you like to do, get in touch with Christian and he'll put you to work, and before you know it, you can write your name on one of the reports, which is a really cool thing to do. We're going to talk about three simulations, three users of simulations from the strategy tools global coaching community. Let's start off with Javier, who's here from Mexico, his case on Northeastern University. Javier, you want to take the floor, please?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Victor, and again, happy to be with all of you here. And I'll share with you the story of what we did at Northeastern. I think that it was a couple of months ago when I just heard that Rick mentioned that he was planning to bring and use transforming one of his classes at Northeastern. And I just reached to him and I told him that I would love to be part of that, okay? And that was how all this story began. And I'll let you know what happened over there, okay? So this is the class. The class is called Industry Disruption and Corporate Transformation, and this is a class for undergrads. And it consisted of 12 lessons, so it was a full semester. It was a business case per each one of the lessons. We had 14 students, 2 professors, and I was there as the simulation facilitator. And we wanted to use Transform in the semester. At the beginning, it was not that clear how many sessions we were having in the semester, but I'll tell you what happened after that. Some of the challenges that we saw from the beginning is that this was a 3.5 session per week. So we were planning to use the simulation the last 60, maybe up to 90 minutes per session. So one of the challenges was how to maintain the flow during the simulation, and how did we actually link each class to the simulation, okay? So that was tough. And did I mention that participants were undergrads with no corporate experience? So that was really tough. And we were having this hybrid environment, okay? So I was remotely running the sessions, and we were using the digital version of the simulation. And this is how it looked like, okay? All students and the professors usually at the classroom. And I was here in Mexico, in Guadalajara. So for those that don't know what Transform is, it's basically this simulation to accelerate learning and development of strategy, innovation, and transformation. And for me, this is a safe and cost-effective playing field to experiment and learn, okay? So you know that it incorporates new voices and concepts on all of these fields. And the challenge and the task for the participating teams, it's to actually try to reach a 50 billion market capitalization, okay? So how did we actually glue together all the challenges and the things that we had, okay? So the first thing is that we used some introduction videos. So we took a material that was already available and we just customized it, okay? So all of these 3 videos were just available for all the students. Then we had to build optional assignments to actually link the different cases per week with the beginning of the simulation. So we brought exercises. These were optional exercises to discuss at the beginning of each of the simulation sessions. And suddenly we realized that we had to actually try to persuade the participants to work on them. So what we did is that we offered for the teams that were actually working on the optional assignments, or for the ones that came up with the better answers, some additional cards to help them actually reach their evaluation and their objectives, okay? Some of the outcomes, it was really interesting seeing how the participants, the students, were able to learn how to manage a complex merger and acquisitions, okay? And this was actually one of the highlight moments of the session, of the whole semester. So at the middle of the semester, we had this merger agreement between two of the teams, and they were working the details on that agreement, on that merger. But suddenly another company had the option to actually try a hostile takeover acquisition. And actually that was what happened. So the three teams were really trying to achieve what they wanted, but at the end, the hostile takeover happened, and we had a new company. So we had really some people that was hurt because that happened, but that's what actually happens in real life, okay? But the problem was that I just mentioned, it was the middle of the semester. So usually these acquisitions happen at the end of the simulations. So we had to slow down the pace of the simulation. So we decided to use some of the cards that we had available, and we encouraged the creation of a new company. So that was what actually happened, okay? So we encouraged a spin-off of a new company. So at the end of the semester, two of the companies reached the 50 billion cap valuation, okay? We had good feedback. We also had feedback to make this better this semester, that we begin in a couple of weeks. And we also gave them a final assignment to actually show us what they had learned during the whole semester. So we used this shareholder meeting day, and they had to create a short video where they could actually show us what they had learned, okay? It was a 2-3 minute video. Some of the key learnings is that, okay, you have to prepare in advance, but be flexible because you never know what's going to happen. Also in hybrid environments, just make sure that everybody is in Zoom. Otherwise, you don't have the same participation from everybody. And make sure if this is going to be used in a class, what's going to be the grading assigned to the simulation part of the class, okay? Two facilitators help a lot, and just try to maintain the board clean and use additional videos to actually reinforce some concepts, okay? Because it's a lot of material, and some of the feedback from the students was that suddenly from class to class, they forgot some of the elements that we shared with them the previous classes, okay? So that's it. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help.
Okay, thanks, Javier. Any questions? I don't see a question in the chat, except for compliments from Christian. But I have a question, maybe, Javier. How would you say the combination or the percentages between what you can take out of the simulation versus what you have to be flexible about in the simulation itself? Yeah, you can basically run the simulation through. I almost used the GAME word. You can run the simulation through, and we often talk about the instructor-led version versus having it a little more have its own way. How did that work with the undergrad students?
I think that it was like 50-50. I mean, we had some material already prepared, but suddenly during the session, something happened. And we also had the option to cheat and know what were the cards that made a lot more sense for that session, okay? But then suddenly, I mean, something happens and you have to be flexible enough to just jump on that. and maybe go deeper on that aspect. Okay.
Yeah. And would you agree that one of the advantages of using the simulation is that you can also with the preparation, but you can combine it with a number of the canvases as well. So it mainly is all in the preparation of what you want the learning curve to be for the group that you're having in the simulation, right? So you can go into the simulation, you can go out into the simulation and have them work on something. How much homework did they have between the sessions for the whole program? Can you say something about that?
Well, yeah, they had to prepare some information, some documents for each one of the lessons. So we had, they had one case per, at least one case per week, and they had to do, to deliver a paper before the beginning of that session. And I said the simulation part, the optional assignments were optional. Okay, so the teams that wanted to work on them could do it, and if not, I mean, nothing really happened. But that's something that we're working on for next semester. Okay.
Okay. We have about 1 minute left for this case. Maybe Rick, as the other person involved in this case, can you add something more to round it up?
Happy to. So, especially with undergrads who don't have any corporate experience to speak of, you know, we were bringing cases that we thought were super interesting. How did Google disrupt the advertising industry? How did Netflix disrupt the film industry? How did Stripe disrupt credit card industry and things? So thought those were relatively relevant, but you know, they just didn't have the context or understanding about what's going on overall, especially you know, the overall value creation or value destruction aspect. And so what the simulation really did was to show the relationship between actions and company value overall. And that tie really, we saw the change in the case write-ups that were going on and a lot more discussion about market forces and so on that allowed the real world connection between just simply academic documents and what happens out there. They also saw, the case discussions also, they started to look at the news and to see what was going on and to track values of stock and sort of bring those then into case write-ups and give some historical perspective. Super cool. So this was a random experiment. We had 3 hours to fill full of a case. And that was difficult. So I was looking for ways at least to pad that out the class. It became much more than that. It became not only padding and entertainment for people, but also an inherent part. So now that we've done this for the first time, we're going to circle back and reinforce both sides of it. And I'm super excited to go off. And in recognition of that, Javier volunteered his time and put in a lot of time on each one of these every single week. But he's now been nominated as part of the faculty and will actually receive a small educational stipend for that. And so I'm super happy about the outcomes all the way around.
Okay. 2 short answers, if possible, Rick. How was the impact on the students' performance, their takeaways, and what feedback did you receive from them? Really
so performance, I think you got a sense for that. You know, they were able to really connect things overall. By the way, my ratings for this course, this is the first time I've taught this, but I've been teaching at Northeastern now for about 4 years. This is the highest rating I've ever received as part of a course. So I'd have to say, you know, customer satisfaction was high. But I haven't shared that. The reaction to students was mixed. I think that not a lot of them liked the in-person hybrid thing. No one likes Zoom when you do that. And so we're going to soften that a little bit, I think, over time. Did I answer? There were 2 questions you said. Did I answer
that? Yeah. How the impact was on the student performance. I think you.
I was just wondering, you know, if there's any takeaways that they can use in the other faculties and
we're in the midst of doing a write-up on this. I mean, obviously, you can see the quality of the types of reports that he puts out based on what he did with Mexico. This is not going to be 137 pages, but we'll do a short version of that. That's in the works. It'll actually be a written version of what you just saw and a little bit more comments beyond that.